Hello students, I am once again Sanjay sir over here. Hope you are safe at your home and you are bit in coordination with your studies too. And today I am here to start with a new chapter, that is the singing lesson written by Catherine Mansfield. And it's the second chapter in the syllabus of class 12 in the prose, that is the echoes. Last we have done one chapter, that is story of an hour, and today I will be taking you to another prose piece, that is the singing lesson. Now here the Catherine Mansfield is she is one of the most eminent and prominent authors, story writers and novelists in the 19th century, Victorian age. Now Catherine Mansfield is basically from New Zealand, and her speciality is that she gives a deep insight into the psychological process of human beings. For instance, in this story, if you see, it's very critically she has analyzed different settings, and that, for example, if a person who is disturbed mentally due to some reasons, and he is or she is not interested in any of the affairs or any of the jobs what one does at the right moment, because the hangover of that past thing makes that person quite disturbed and annoyed. So we'll see how the story carries on, and it's a psychological analysis of a character and how things get settled down at the end, but that has to be done while I take you through the chapter. Hope you enjoy this chapter. Thank you. Okay friends, here we have with the, this for class 12 English Literature Echoes. It is lesson number 8 in your textbook, and but it's the second chapter as per your syllabus prescribed for class 12 in the prose, that is in echoes. So first of all, let's go to have some introduction to the author. Catherine Mansfield earned her great name as a modern short story writer when she shifted to UK and settled there. She came in contact with great modern writers such as D.H. Lawrence, who is David Herbert Lawrence, and Virginia Woolf. She is not bound by the shackles of plots and story endings. Her speciality is the depiction of interior life. Her fiction is known for its open-endedness. So, singing lesson, and we have prime characters, two main characters, that is Miss Meadows, who is the protagonist, and the second character is Basil. That's a character who comes in the story first through a letter and then through a telegram. And the third one is Miss Wyatt, and Miss Wyatt is the headmistress of actually a singing school, which will be coming across this lesson. And there is another character called Mary, a student whose name is not mentioned here, but major characters are the two, that is Miss Meadows and Basil. Now the title is a very plays a significant role in this particular chapter. The title is an appropriate title for the story. It is not about singing as a fine art which follows the set principles of sound management. It is about singing which is colored and conditioned by the singer's mood. Miss Meadows' inner strapes influences her song choice. It also affects the song is interpreted. She has one set of instructions for her students when a lament is being sung. A lament is the title of the song which is being practiced by the students in the singing class. Another when she turns to page 32 and tells the students to sound warm, joyful and eager. In either case, music reflects the mood of the singer, and it's all about the singing lesson. Now we have some prime theme and message given by the story writer here. The singing lesson is a story with difference. There is a very little action. In fact, it is all about the inner conflict going on in the mind of the principal character. In this lesson, the author dealt with the theme of despair, sadness, reliance, appearance, desperation, and happiness. In the lesson, music is like an iced fragment that transmits the impression of a certain moment, like an impressionist painting. The story is narrated in the third person by an unnamed narrator, and it had a double sense as life follows the music. The distinguishing feature of the story is that it focuses more on inner life than on external action. Now, friends, whatever may be the slides I have shown you, the most important point is that just some of the fragments, things, whatever you have seen on the slides, it will be much more understandable, and it will be interesting when you go to the original text, that is the story, the singing lesson. So let's start with the first line, and I hope you will be concentrating because it is well connected, and the sequences are such in a manner that if you miss out listening a little bit, then you can get confused. So let's start. With despair, cold, sharp despair, buried deep in her heart like a wicked knife, Miss Meadows, in cap and gown, and carrying a little baton, and the cold corridors that led to the music hall. Girls of all ages, rosy from the air and bubbling over with that gleeful excitement that comes from running to school on a fine autumn morning, hurried, skipped, fluttered by. From the hollow classrooms came a quick drumming of voices. A bell rang. A voice like a bird cried, "Muriel!" And then there came from the staircase a tremendous knock, knock, knocking. Someone had dropped her dumbbells. Now, students, right from the first line of the chapter, we have come across a very pessimistic word, that is despair. So, here the author, Catherine, has started the story in a very abrupt manner, and that is the reason why it catches the reader's attention at a moment. So, it is talking about, the author is telling with despair. It means with lot of hopelessness, with lot of sorrowness, with lot of remorse, with lot of grief, cold, numbness, and not only sorrow, it is deep sorrow, sharp despair, is buried deep in her heart. Now here the her is the main protagonist of the story. That is, I told you, the story is about the protagonist of the that is Miss Meadows. So her is nobody else rather than Miss Meadows. So what is happening? Now Miss Meadows' physical attributions or mental status, she is very sad, very despair, and that sadness is buried deep in her heart like a wicked knife. Like a wicked knife means it's totally tormented, totally frustrated, and she is in a state of dejection, and like a wicked knife, it means her mental affair is not at all good. She is quite disturbed, and with this gesture, she, in a cap and gown and carrying a little baton. Now she is wearing a cap, of obviously a gown, and she is carrying a little baton. Baton is a small stick which the music teachers normally carry, and while they take the class, they move it like a wave-like motion in order to guide their students to go with the high level rhythm or low level. All the music notes are being indicated by that baton. So she was walking through the cold corridors that led to the music hall. Now here cold corridors means the corridors are big enough, very calm, cold. There was not so crowd, and when she entered that corridor, there was not too much crowd over there. It was bit calm, and that led to the music hall. It means we come to know here that Miss Meadows is basically a music teacher, and she is in her music school, and she is going to the music hall where she would take the class with the requisite uniform and that pattern. So girls of all ages, rosy from the air and bubbling over with gleeful excitement. Now it's a girls' school, and the students are all girls over there, and no matter of what age, so girls of different age groups, rosy from the air, and bubbling over with the gleeful. They were quite excited, very happy, and with that stands a bevy of girls, a group of girls are running to the school on a fine autumn morning. So there is a group of girls who is rushing to the music class, and it is a fine autumn morning. So it's a beautiful season, and their hurried, skipped, fluttered by from the hollow classrooms came a quick drumming of voices. Now when Miss Meadows was passing the corridors, now one sound she heard, and what was that sound? Like a bird, somebody cried, Muriel. So what I want to say that, as because there was a group of girls, they were just freaking around and they were going chatting with each other, having a nice time. They are rushing early morning, as we see in the school, people rush to their classrooms. So somebody may have called some friend that Muriel, and then there came from the staircase. So when Miss Meadows was crossing that corridor from the staircase, she heard a tremendous knock knock. Someone had dropped her dumbbells. Now dumbbells is actually, you can tell it's a musical tool which the students hold it, and they just shake it as per the cadence or for the rhythm of the music. So some of or any one of the girls have dropped her dumbbells, and that's why they are very puzzled. So there was a small sort of conversation among the group of the students, and somebody is telling Muriel, and then these things come into Meadows' ears. Now suddenly when Meadows was crossing that place, the science mistress stopped Miss Meadows. Now there is another teacher in that school whose subject was science. She belongs to science faculty. She is a faculty of science. So she stopped. She just made Miss Meadows to stop on the way, and then she told, "Good morning," she cried in a sweet, affected drawl. "Isn't it cold? It might be winter." Now voluntarily, this Science Meadows name has not been given in the story, and she stops Miss Meadows and wishes her in the morning, and she tells that good morning in a sweet, affected drawl. "Isn't it cold?" Now when she greeted Miss Meadows with good morning, in addition to that she told, "Isn't it cold? Don't you think it's cold enough today? It might be winter, because after autumn the winter comes. So because it is too cold, even though the author has given it's an autumn morning, so it seems that this science mistress is little bit exaggerating a matter with Miss Meadows. So she is telling it is so cold, I think it's winter has arrived. Miss Meadows, hugging the knife, stared in hatred at science mistress. Everything about her was sweet, pale, like honey. You wouldn't have been surprised to see a bee caught in the tangles of that yellow hair. Now from this paragraph we come to know that Mrs. Meadows is not at a good pace with the science mistress, because science mistress, as per the lines say, was very sweet, very dashing, very beautiful, and this Meadows and the science mistress were not in collaboration, or the compatibility of these two faculties was not at all good. Now everything about her was sweet. Now about her means here the author is talking about the science mistress, and pale like honey. So she may be very fair, and you would not have been surprised to see. It means author wants to tell here the science mistress was so beautiful, she was so eye catchy, and she has honey like that is expression, which is too sweet, and
it's not a matter of surprisement, it's not a matter of astonishment to anybody if B is caught in the tangles of yellow hair. So as because her expressions, her grace is compared to is been compared to honey, so the author is telling that if, because wherever there is honey, there is honey bee. So it is not a matter of astonishment that bees would be residing in the tangles of the yellow hair. Whose yellow hair? In the science mistress yellow hair. It is rather sharp, said Mr. Meadows grimly. The other smiled her sugary smile. Now, when she wished her, and the science mistress wished Meadows and wished her good morning and told, "Isn't it cool?" Now, on the contrary, the response which came from Miss Meadows was rather sharp. She told grimly, "Yes, the day seems to be very sharp." And the moment she told, then the expression of the science mistress was, she smiled her sugary smile. Now, sugary smile refers to a pretending smile, which was, the smile was not authentic. The smile was too pretentious, and she was that is sugary, which seems to be very sweet, but from inside. So it is, you can tell it's a sarcastic smile which the science teacher gave to Meadows. "You look frozen," said she. Her blue eyes opened wide. There came a mocking light in them. Had she noticed anything? Now, when she replied, then she also added that, "You look frozen, Meadows. You look so sad. You look so dejected." Her blue eyes opened wide. There came a mocking light in them. So, this was the feeling which Meadows got in the eyes of the science mistress. What Meadows found? Meadows thought that whatever she asked me, that was under doubt and disbelief. That was not genuine. That was not quite authentic, and it was not from the core of the heart she has told me, or she has talked to me. Her blue eyes opened wide, and there was a mocking light in them, as if she was making a fun of me. Had she noticed anything? It means Meadows is thinking that, has the science mistress saw anything inside my expression that made her to do so? Now, in the minds of the readers, my dear students, you might be thinking that, what is that Meadows was so worried about? Yes, there is an instance which it hasn't come in the story yet, but there is something which has made Miss Meadows very disturbed, okay, and she is not at all in a good state of mind, and that's why she is taking everything into a different account. "Oh, not quite as bad as that," said Miss Meadows, and she gave the science mistress, in exchange of a smile, a quick grimace and passed on. So, Meadows' reply to science teacher was, "Oh, not quite as bad as that. What do you think? It's not like that." And she gave the science mistress, she didn't feel to discuss much and to stand at the corridor and talk to that science mistress. So what she did, she just wrap up everything, whatever she was having, she exchanged for a smile, and for a smile she gave a quick grimace and passed on. She gave an expression to the science teacher and she passed on, because she is not at all interested to converse with this particular, and it seems that the relationship of Miss Meadows and the science mistress was not at all good. They were perhaps, I don't know, they may be jealous of each other or somewhat like that, and because the chemistry was not good, the compatibility was not good between these two teachers. Okay, now the next paragraph is, "Forms 4, 5 and 6 were assembled in the music hall." Now, Miss Meadows was on her way to the music class, and in that class there were people who in groups, they were in 4, in 5 and 6, they all assembled in the music hall because they need to start. Now the music class is going to be initiated by Miss Meadows. The noise was deafening. On the platform by the piano stood Mary Bisley, Miss Meadows' favorite, who played accompaniments. So now the scene from the corridor, it came to the classroom, that is the music hall. Now what do we find? There are people, students who are standing in different groups, 3, 4, 5 like this, and one more character is introduced to us here is Mary Bisley. Mary Bisley is one of the music class student, and she is supposed to be a favorite student of Miss Meadows. And what she did to, she used to play piano, and she who played accompaniments, means whenever Miss Meadows would sing, now this girl would accompany her teacher by playing the piano. That's why it is written who played accompaniments, and she is considered to be the most favorite student of Miss Meadows too. She was turning the music stool. Now before, just in front of the piano instrument, there was a stool, which is a rounded stool, and there the student would sit and play the piano. Now, as because the teacher hadn't arrived yet, so she was having a nice time. She was turning the music stool and waiting for the teacher. When she saw Miss Meadows, she gave a loud warning, "Shh, girls." And Miss Meadows, her hands thrust in her sleeves, the baton under her arm, strode down the center aisle, mounted the steps, turned sharply, seized the brass music stand, planted it in front of her, and gave 2 sharp taps with her baton for silence. Now, suddenly, Miss Meadows entered the music hall, and when she entered, perhaps Mary Bisley, she saw the teacher entering the room, so she just gave an indication or alarmed her student friends inside the class to be quiet. That's why that expression, "Shh, girls." And Miss Meadows was her hands thrust in her sleeves because she is in the uniform right now. We have been told in the beginning of the story, and she has kept her hands into her sleeves, and the baton under her arm strode down the center aisle. So she was striding her arms with holding the baton, and she was striding down the center aisle. Aisle is actually, you can tell in train, in buses, in theaters, in auditoriums, what we find, the last seat. Aisle refers to the last seat of where the passage is there. So she is walking through down the center aisle, mounted the steps, turned sharply, seized the brass music stand. See, that music stand is known as lectern, actually, where the music teacher used keep that note or that book where the different music notes are being printed, and accordingly she would give instructions to her students. She planted it, she brought that music stand in front of her and gave 2 sharp taps with her baton for silence. And she just gave a tap with the baton she was holding, so that it's an indication for the students to be quiet, because you know the children, before the teacher comes, what is supposed to be the environment of a class. So she just gave 2 taps in order to make aware the students that you be silent, because right now I'm in the class. Silence, please, immediately. And looking at nobody, her glance swept over that sea of colored flannel blouses with bubbling pink faces and hands, quivering butterfly hair bows, and music books outspread. Silence, please, immediately. And looking at nobody, her glance swept. Her glance means she is Miss Meadows. Now, what she saw, she was standing at the platform in the classroom, that is the music class, and she could see the sea of colored flannel blouses, because students are there, all girl students are there. They're sitting in front of her, having the same uniform all over, everybody is wearing. They were flannel blouses with bubbling pink faces. Everybody has a pink face and hands, quivering butterfly hair bows, and music books outspread. So this is a class setting of a music hall. Students are of same colored uniforms. Their faces are expressions. Early morning they have come to attend the music class. Perhaps it's the first class of the school day, and they have hair bows and music books outspread on the table. She knew perfectly well that what they were thinking. Now Miss Meadows knows it well, that what the students are actually thinking about right now. Maddie is in a wax. well, let them think it. Now, looking at the students, Miss Meadows may have this thought that she is not okay, means obviously she is quite disturbed, she is frustrated, because from the conversation with that science mistress we came to know. So here Meadows having an conception that students might know that what their teacher is thinking right now. They might be thinking what? That Medi is in a wax. It means there is something wrong with her teacher. Well, let them think it. Now she let go everything. Meadows, she is telling, this is the inner feeling of the teacher. She is telling that, well, let them think it. Whatever the students want to think, let them think. Her eyelids quivered. She tossed her head, defying them. What could be the thoughts of those creatures matter to someone who stood there bleeding to death, pierced to the heart by such a letter? Now friends, this is the point where we get an indication. Now we know that Miss Meadows was not mentally okay, she is disturbed due to some reason. Now she, on her perspective, thinking that her expression would make the students feel that their teacher is not in a good mood. But then she ignores, she tossed her head, and she is talking to himself that whatever students feel, whatever people think looking at her doesn't matter to her, because right now one who stood there bleeding to death, she is at the verge of death and her heart has been pierced. It means she has got lot of pain in her heart, and that too by such a letter. Now that letter is there which makes the readers aware and too anxious to know what is such a letter. It means if you guess from here that there is a letter which has come to Miss Meadows, and that letter has turned Miss Meadows' expression and her body language in a different manner, and she is disturbed. That's why she is talking to herself and telling that even though students feel that teacher is the teacher is not in a good mood, how does it affect to me? Because I am drowned in my own ocean of sorrows. So I should see of my, because I am now dejected, I have become hopeless, and that too by such a letter. So students, we need to stop right here, which I will continue in my coming class. And because the story is so critically presented, if this kind of explanation is not given, then it's too difficult to go into the crux of the story and the streamline. So I hope you have got the introduction part, and we will continue in the next class.